Sagittarius, you're overwhelmed by child disputes. Restore balance with stars. There are days when the house feels heavy, not because of noise, but because of everything that's been said. The arguments linger in the air like invisible smoke. You never listen. You don't understand. You're always controlling. Words that burn, even when spoken in moments of pain. You try to breathe, to stay patient, to remind yourself that this is just a phase, but deep down something aches. You're tired, Sagittarius. Tired of the misunderstandings, the slammed doors, the silence that feels louder than shouting. You've always been the seeker, the optimist, the mother who raised her children to be free. You wanted them to think, to feel, to live fully. Yet lately, that freedom has come back as rebellion, leaving you questioning if love and boundaries can ever coexist. The truth? They can, but only when you stop trying to control the storm and start learning to dance within it. Jupiter, your cosmic guide, is whispering softly. Step back. Breathe. There's a larger truth here. These disputes are not punishments. They are mirrors, showing where love has outgrown its old shape. Your children are evolving, and so are you. What feels like disconnection is often the soul's call for renewal. Take a moment right now, wherever you are. Place your hand over your heart. Feel its steady rhythm. The same rhythm that once soothed your child to sleep. That love hasn't vanished. It's just transforming, stretching to make space for who you are becoming, and who they are becoming too. This chapter of your life isn't about losing control. It's about reclaiming perspective. About finding calm in chaos, wisdom in weariness, meaning in the mess. Jupiter doesn't ask you to fix every argument, only to rise above them, to see the constellation of love even when clouds cover the stars. So, dear Sagittarius, exhale the guilt. You are not failing. You are evolving. Your journey isn't about perfection. It's about presence. The stars are aligning to help you restore harmony, not through more effort, but through expansion. And as we walk this path together, you'll discover that peace was never lost. It was simply waiting for you to look up again. Chapter 1: The Emotional Storm. When love turns into lightning. It begins quietly. A disagreement about chores, a reminder about homework, a curfew that's questioned. Then suddenly, like a summer storm, it builds. Words flash like lightning, tempers flare. And in the middle of it all stands you. Heart pounding, trying to stay calm, yet feeling that familiar Sagittarian fire rising from deep inside. You didn't mean to shout. You only wanted to be understood. But somehow, every conversation turns into a battlefield where love and frustration collide. For a Sagittarius woman, whose essence is freedom and truth, nothing feels more painful than conflict that limits both. You crave connection that breathes, communication that flows, and laughter that heals. Yet lately, everything feels rigid, sharp, unyielding. The very walls of your home, once filled with joy, now echo with the residue of unspoken tension. You miss your child's laughter, their openness, their curiosity. Instead, you meet silence, sarcasm, or eyes that avoid yours. Across the world, countless mothers share this ache. Studies from both the US and Europe reveal an unsettling truth. While technological connection grows, emotional connection between generations weakens. In America, more than half of midlife parents report feeling isolated from their adult or teen children. In Europe, family support rates have dropped to 68%, signaling not a failure of love, but a transformation of it. The old ways of parenting, advice, authority, insistence, no longer reach hearts shaped by a restless, digital, emotionally overloaded generation. And yet, beneath all the arguments lies something tender. Love that doesn't know where to go. Your child's rebellion isn't a rejection of you. It's an assertion of self, a raw attempt to find identity. They are seeking truth in their own way, just as you once did when you followed Jupiter's call to explore life's deeper meaning. What you're both experiencing now isn't separation. It's a rite of passage, a sacred unraveling of the roles that once defined you. Let's pause here for a breath. Imagine, for a moment, that each clash between you and your child is a thunderstorm, loud, dramatic, impossible to ignore. Yet when it passes, the air is clearer, the light softer. The ground, though soaked, nourishes new growth. Every emotional storm, if met with consciousness, cleanses what's stagnant between souls. Consider the story of Amelia, a 50-year-old Sagittarius mother from Portland. Her teenage daughter accused her of never listening, and for months they barely spoke. One night, instead of responding with anger, Amelia asked softly, "Then tell me what listening looks like to you." That single question changed everything. It didn't solve all their problems overnight, but it opened a door, one that had been locked by pride and exhaustion. Over time, through slow, imperfect conversations, they began to rediscover each other. Not as mother and child, but as two growing women, learning how to love in new language. Sagittarius, this storm you're in isn't here to destroy you. It's here to refine you. Jupiter, your ruling planet, governs perspective. It asks you to rise above the thunder and ask, what is this conflict trying to teach me? Sometimes it's patience. Sometimes humility. Sometimes it's simply learning to pause before reacting, to let silence do the talking. So the next time voices rise and tempers flare, imagine yourself as the archer once more. Bow steady, eyes focused, heart calm. Your goal isn't to win but to understand. When you speak, let it be like an arrow of light, direct but never cruel. When you listen, let it be like the sky after rain, wide open, forgiving. And when the storm passes, because it always does, don't rush to forget it. Sit with it. Reflect. Journal what you felt, what you learned, what you'd like to say differently next time. Each storm leaves behind wisdom if you're willing to collect it. Because love, Sagittarius, was never meant to stay clear skies. It was meant to weather, to be tested, transformed, and reborn under Jupiter's watchful light. Chapter 2: Jupiter's Wisdom. Turning conflict into cosmic conversation. Somewhere between the shouting and the silence, there's a sacred middle ground. A quiet space where love can speak without armor. This is the place Jupiter, your guiding planet, is calling you to enter. It's not a physical place, but an inner expansion. The spaciousness that allows truth and tenderness to coexist. Sagittarius, your greatest gift is perspective. You see the big picture when others get lost in details. But when it comes to your children, even that gift can falter. Their defiance feels too close, too personal. You want to teach, to protect, to help them see what you already know. Yet the harder you push, the more resistance you meet. Jupiter whispers a different way. Don't teach, expand. To turn confrontation into conversation, begin by shifting from correction to curiosity. Instead of saying, "Why can't you just listen?" try asking, "What are you really feeling right now?" It's a Jupiter question, one that invites truth without judgment. These are not easy words to say, especially when frustration rises, but they open a door the ego usually keeps closed. Timing also matters, and here astrology becomes your ally. Jupiter's transits reveal windows of opportunity for emotional repair. Periods when the cosmos favors reconciliation, perspective, and forgiveness. For example, when Jupiter forms a trine, a harmonious angle, to your natal moon, it's an ideal time to approach heart-centered conversations. When Mercury moves direct after a retrograde, communication flows more clearly. Words land with greater understanding. Think of these cosmic cycles as emotional weather patterns. You wouldn't sail in a storm. Why force an important dialogue when the skies aren't supportive? A Sagittarius mother in her wisdom learns not just what to say, but when. Consider Evelyn, a Sagittarius woman in her late 40s. Her teenage son shut her out for months after a series of bitter arguments. When she consulted her birth chart, she noticed Jupiter was approaching her natal Venus. A season of softened communication and heart expansion. She decided to write him a letter instead of confronting him. "I don't have the right words right now," she wrote, "but I want to understand you, not control you." That letter sat unread for 2 weeks. Then one night, he came to her room and simply said, "Thanks for trying." It wasn't dramatic, but it was sacred. A tiny Jupiter moment, where pride dissolved and love re-entered quietly. Jupiter also governs humor. Your secret medicine. When tension rises, sometimes the healing thing to do is laugh, not lecture. A touch of lightness can turn defensiveness into dialogue. Try saying, "Okay, that conversation was rough. Let's restart. Do you want tea or peace first?" The Sagittarius gift of levity can melt even the most stubborn walls, because laughter disarms fear. Jupiter's wisdom is also about self-expansion. Conflicts shrink your world, making you feel trapped in patterns. But Jupiter invites you to stretch, to seek knowledge, to study emotional growth as you would philosophy or travel. Explore books on conscious communication, attend a parenting circle, or journal about your astrological transits. The more self-aware you become, the less reactive you'll feel. When you expand inwardly, your entire family feels the shift. And when you sense the urge to win, pause. Jupiter teaches that victory in love doesn't come from being right. It comes from being real. Each time you resist the pull to defend and instead choose to understand, you're aligning with cosmic truth. You're living as Jupiter intended, guided by wisdom, rooted in compassion, expansive in heart. So before your next difficult talk, step outside for a moment. Look at the night sky, the same vast horizon that has always mirrored your soul. Breathe deeply. Let Jupiter remind you that every argument is simply a bridge waiting to be built. Then walk back in, not as a warrior, but as a healer. Speak from calm, not control. Listen not to react, but to connect. You are not here to win against your child. You are here to win with them. And when you finally see that flicker of softness in their eyes, that quiet recognition that love never left, it only needed space to grow, you'll understand Jupiter's true lesson. Harmony doesn't happen by chance. It happens when truth is spoken with grace. Chapter 3: Mindful Journeys. Healing the Sagittarius Way. For Sagittarius, healing has never been a stationary act. Your spirit mends best when it moves, through reflection, through imagination, through experiences that reawaken awe. You were born under Jupiter's watch, with a soul wired for exploration and understanding. So when conflict leaves your energy scattered, the most natural path back to peace is not through confinement, but through gentle expansion, through mindful journeys that reconnect you to your inner freedom. Begin not by running away, but by journeying inward. When you close your eyes, imagine stepping onto a quiet trail beneath a vast golden sky. The path curves toward a landscape that feels familiar and new all at once, the terrain of your own heart. With each breath, you travel further away from tension and closer to understanding. Let this visualization remind you, every step inward is also a step toward those you love. The more balanced you become, the safer they feel. This is mindfulness, Sagittarius style exploration with meaning. When your home feels heavy with conflict, turn the moment into a sacred practice of presence. Brew tea infused with herbs that cool your fire. Chamomile for patience, lemon balm for calm, rosemary for clarity. Sit by the window as the steam rises and journal freely. What am I truly feeling beneath this anger? What part of me is asking to be heard? These are not questions to solve, but doorways to deeper awareness. Movement, too, can become your meditation. Go for long walks without a destination. Let the rhythm of your steps match the rhythm of your breath. Notice the sky changing, the trees swaying, the sound of your heartbeat returning to steadiness. For Sagittarius women, physical motion helps emotional energy flow again. It's not escape, it's renewal. Sometimes, walking in silence does more for your family than hours of discussion ever could. And when you can't travel outward, travel through imagination. Visualize you and your child journeying together through a beautiful landscape, perhaps along the cliffs of Santorini or beneath Kyoto's cherry blossoms. See yourselves laughing again, talking easily, sharing simple wonder. This isn't denial. It's energetic empathy. The subconscious responds to imagery. By reimagining peace, you begin to magnetize it into reality. Real stories illuminate this truth. Lucia, a 54-year-old Sagittarius mother from Spain, was caught in months of cold silence with her grown daughter. She decided to try something unconventional. Each night before bed, she visualized sending her daughter a postcard from an imaginary trip, one that said, "I'm thinking of you, I hope you're finding your own path." Within 2 weeks, her daughter texted, "Miss you, Mom. Let's talk soon." Sometimes healing happens not through words, but through the quiet energy of love we send out when we soften inside. If your fire still feels restless, direct it creatively. Channel the heat of your frustration into art, gardening, cooking, or journaling. Jupiter rules growth. Anything you nurture in this phase becomes a seed for renewal. Try a gratitude list every evening, focusing not on perfection but progress. Today I stayed calm when I could have reacted. Today I said, "I love you," even through silence. Each small acknowledgement strengthens your emotional resilience. And when the weight of guilt presses, because Sagittarius women often carry guilt like hidden stones in their pockets, remember this truth. You are allowed to rest. You do not have to fix everything today. Healing is a horizon, not a deadline. Sit by a candle and whisper, "I forgive myself for what I didn't know then." I honor who I'm becoming now. In this phase of your journey, Jupiter doesn't ask for control. It asks for trust. Trust in timing, in your child's growth, in your own capacity to love beyond fear. Each mindful breath, each walk, each quiet reflection is a return to alignment, to the archer who aims not from panic but from peace. By walking this path, you'll begin to notice subtle shifts. Your words soften. Your tone carries warmth again. Conversations feel less like battles and more like bridges. And even if your child doesn't change immediately, your energy does. And that energy becomes the field where reconciliation can finally take root. Because the Sagittarius way of healing isn't about suppression. It's about movement toward compassion, toward perspective, toward light. You are not retreating from the conflict. You are rising above it. And as you do, you'll find that the journey itself, not the destination, is the medicine Jupiter always meant for you. Full Moon. Chapter 4, From Rebellion to Renewal. Writing a new family story. Every Sagittarius woman knows that freedom and love have always been her twin lessons. You were born to explore life's vast horizons. Yet motherhood tied your wings in ways you never expected. And now, as disputes with your teen or grown child soften into uneasy silence, you're standing at the edge of a new landscape. One where love must evolve, not end. Jupiter, your celestial mentor, now asks, will you cling to the old story of conflict? Or will you write a new one built on understanding, not control? Renewal begins with humility, the courage to see not just your child's flaws, but your own blind spots with compassion. Sagittarius mothers often carry fierce ideals. You see potential everywhere, so when your child resists, it feels like betrayal of possibility. But Jupiter reminds you, the purpose of fire is not to force growth. It's to illuminate the path. Your role now is not to sculpt your child, but to offer light by walking your truth. Start by creating new forms of connection, simple yet sincere. Try what I call soul check-ins, brief, intentional moments each week where both of you share one emotion and one gratitude. Keep it small, honest, real. Perhaps your teen says, I'm tired of pressure, and you respond, I miss how we used to laugh. No fixing, no debating, just truth without walls. Over time, these seeds of honesty grow into trust. You can also turn your Sagittarian creativity into healing rituals. Choose one evening each month, ideally under a full moon, to perform a release and renew ceremony. Write down what emotional patterns you're ready to release. Anger, guilt, resentment. Burn the paper safely while repeating softly, I bless what was and invite what's new. If your child is open, invite them to do the same in their own way. Let fire become your ally again. Not a destroyer but a purifier. In moments of tension, lean into the medicine of laughter. Jupiter's gift is humor that disarms pain. It's okay to say, I think we both need a snack before we say something we regret. Or, let's pause, even the stars need alignment. Humor softens rigidity, reminding both of you that love is still the foundation beneath the chaos. Stories of healing like this are happening all around. Carmen, a 53-year-old Sagittarius mother in Lisbon, hadn't spoken to her grown daughter for months after a bitter argument about independence. Instead of forcing resolution, she began writing small letters to Jupiter each night, notes of forgiveness and gratitude for her daughter's soul. 2 months later, her daughter sent a message. I had a dream of us laughing again. Can we start over? The stars had shifted, but so had Carmen's energy. Healing often begins invisibly, when we choose inner peace over outward control. As Jupiter governs expansion, this is also the time to widen your circle of belonging. Join a healing group, reconnect with old friends, or volunteer for a cause that mirrors your values. Sagittarius thrives when meaning replaces worry. The more fulfilled you are in your own growth, the less conflict consumes your home. A mother who lives with purpose becomes a mirror for her child's courage to do the same. Above all, remember that renewal is not perfection, it's movement. Some days connection will bloom easily. Others, silence will linger. Both are sacred. Every family has seasons, and Jupiter teaches that growth follows cycles. Trust that your love, though tested, is still the strongest compass your child carries. So tonight, step outside for a moment. Look at the stars scattered across the sky. Each one holds the story of transformation, explosions that became light. You too are turning conflict into illumination. Whisper softly, I release the battle. I choose the bridge. Because Sagittarius, your story was never meant to end in defeat. It was meant to evolve, from rebellion to renewal, from exhaustion to expansion, from control to communion. You are not losing your child. You are rediscovering them, and yourself, in a higher, more honest vibration of love, freedom and forgiveness, peace and perspective. When the noise fades and the evening light drifts softly through the house, you can almost feel the echo of every conversation that brought you here. The storms, the tears, the long silences. And in that stillness, Sagittarius, something inside you exhales. The fire that once burned in frustration now glows with quiet warmth. You realize that none of it, not a single argument or moment of distance, was wasted. Every spark, every clash, every hurt was simply Jupiter's way of expanding your heart. You were never meant to master love. You were meant to experience it in all its wild human imperfection. And what a journey it has been. You have weathered emotional tempests that could have extinguished your light. Yet here you stand, wiser, softer, luminous. The same fire that once fueled your anger now fuels your understanding. You've learned that sometimes, love doesn't look like harmony. It looks like honesty. It looks like showing up, again and again, with an open heart, even when it trembles. Forgiveness has become your new freedom. You forgive your child for not knowing how to love you perfectly, and yourself for the times you mistook control for care. In that forgiveness, space returns. You begin to breathe again, to laugh more easily, to trust that peace doesn't come from agreement, but from acceptance. You start to see your family not as something to manage, but as a constellation. Each of you shining in your own orbit, still part of the same sky. And beyond your walls, you can sense something greater. The collective pain of mothers and children across generations, all learning how to listen again, how to hold one another without losing themselves. When you heal, you send ripples of calm into that collective field. You become a torch of Jupiter's wisdom, guiding others quietly toward grace. So tonight, light a single candle. Watch its flame dance gently, never still, yet never lost. Whisper this affirmation to your own reflection. I release control. I choose understanding. I honor the freedom that love brings. I trust Jupiter's light to guide us back to peace. Let the candle burn until your thoughts slow, your breath deepens, and your heart softens into stillness. Because this is what healing truly is. Not an ending, but a widening. You haven't lost your family. You've rediscovered your place in it, as both guide and seeker, teacher and student. The stars smile upon you now, Sagittarius. You have learned the lesson of balance, the art of loving without clinging, of leading without force, of forgiving without forgetting. And as you look up at the night sky, vast, endless, alive, you understand what Jupiter has been whispering all along. You were never here to control the journey. You were here to love through it.